Hello everyone, my name is LINGZHI. In the rapidly changing economic environment, data and humanity jointly shape our decisions. Economic fluctuations, employee behavior, AI impact. These things are directly related to how the company will make decisions next year. I'm going to spend 10 minutes to explain 4 key points shown in the slide. The business cycle includes periods of economic expansion and contraction, usually represented by GDP growth and contraction, rising and falling unemployment, and changes in the inflation rate. Gross dynamic product is the monetary measure that represents the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country during a specific period, usually a year or a quarter. GDP growth suggests the economy is expanding, unemployment is up, and consumers are more confident. A decline in GDP, on the other hand, could mean a recession of economy, lower corporate revenues, higher unemployment, and lower consumption and investment. In macroeconomics, inflation merely refers to general increase in prices and wages. Rising inflation could lead central banks to raise interest rates to control price levels, which would increase borrowing costs and could dumping investment and consumption, thereby affecting GDP growth. Low inflation or deflation can indicate weak demand and slow economic growth. Unemployment refers to people in the labor market who have the ability and willingness to work and are actively looking for job opportunity but haven't found a job for the time being. An increase in unemployment typically means a recession as business reduce output and lay off workers to cut costs. Low unemployment is usually associated with an economic expansion, indicating that businesses are hiring more to meet rising demand for production. Under different economic conditions and business cycles, organizations need to adopt different coping methods. If they don't get it right, it can affect the whole operation of the business. Organizations need to incorporate the dynamics of these macroeconomic indicators into their daily operations and long-term strategies to ensure competitiveness and content growth in an ever-changing economic environment. The AD and AS model is used in macroeconomics to analyze the dynamic relationship between aggregate demand and aggregate supply and its impact on economic output and price levels. We first analyze the impact of the US tariff increase on Singapore's aggregate demand. AD equals consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports. A change in any of these components will affect aggregate demand in Singapore. The US is an important trading partner for Singapore. When the US raises tariffs, it will directly lead to higher prices of Singaporean goods in the US market, which will reduce the competitiveness of Singaporean goods in the US, and therefore reduce Singapore's exports. Reduced exports mean lower external demand and aggregate demand will shift to the left. At the same time, tariffs may increase the uncertainty of enterprises and affect their investment decisions. Businesses may delay or cancel planned corporate expansions or new investments, further reducing aggregate demand. The second is to analyze the impact of the US tariff increase on Singapore's total supply. Singapore companies rely on revenue from the US market. They may try to absorb some of the tariff costs, leading to higher production costs. The cost increase shifts the aggregate supply curve to the left, indicating reduction in the total amount of goods and services available at various price levels. In the short term, reductions in both supply and demand can lead to lower output and higher prices, a phenomenon known as stagflation. In the long run, economic adaptation and market adjustment may mitigate the impact, but the exact effect depends on the policy response and the dynamics of international markets. According to the status quo buyers theory of behavioral economics, people tend to maintain existing behaviors rather than actively make changes, even if the changes could lead to a better life. This bias is particularly pronounced when it comes to dietary choices. Many people choose foods high in sugar and calories, even though healthier options are more beneficial. Part of this preference can be explained by evolution. Early humans had a great need for energy to cope with scarcity and cold environments, and such high sugar, high calorie foods were a valuable resource for survival. Therefore, modern people still have the psychological preference for this kind of food. When this biological behavior is combined with the psychological tendency to maintain the status quo, it makes it difficult for some people to change unhealthy eating habits. According to prospect theory in behavioral economics, people are tend to judge gains and losses based on a psychological reference point. They experience losses far more than equivalent gains, a phenomenon known as loss aversion. Physiologically, people get more pressure from eating unhealthy foods, such as sugar, which releases dopamine. So when people make food choices, their brains perceive giving up tasty foods like fried chicken and desserts as a loss, and the physical benefits of choosing healthier foods as a value gain. Since people are more sensitive to lose, they will be more inclined to maintain their current high-calorie diet. Now I'm going to show the difference of traditional economics and behavioral economics. As to level of rationality, the assumption of traditional economics is that rational people who know perfect rationality, which means home economics, can weigh pros and cons and maximize utility. For behavioral economics, it thinks in the most cases people are limitedly rational and will make mistakes and be affected by emotions. As to information pricing capability, the idea of traditional economics think people can access, understand, and fully utilize all informations. By construct, behavioral economics think that human information processing is limited, often rely on heuristic, quick decision, easy to make mistakes. In general, traditional economics focuses on building idealized decision-making models, while behavioral economics focuses more on the complexity and irrationality of human decision-making in reality. Now let's talk about AI impact. The development of AI amplifies the winner-take-all effect. Highly skilled people can make exponential leaps with AI, but a large number of middle skills workers are at risk of being displaced, and the technology gap is widening. People who master AI toys will quickly adapt to the work environment and get the job done, where those who cannot adapt to technological change may be marginalized or even replaced. This trend is more disadvantageous to countries or groups with unequal educational resources and wide disparities in economic development levels, which may lead to serial labor market differentiation and increased labor market inequality. The extensive application of AI has lowered the threshold for people to learn knowledge and skills, which is conducive to improving the marginal output value of low-skilled workers, expanding the productivity of ordinary workers and making them rise in the market position. Generative AI can help people with disabilities better adapt to the work environment and increase family income. Technologies such as text-to-speech, voice control system, and intelligent auxiliary input have improved their work efficiency and narrowed the employment inequality caused by differences in physical conditions. That's all. Thank you.